Hello and welcome to Pretty Spooky Presents Friday Night Feast and Fright. Every first Friday, unless it's a holiday, we match our meal to our monsters. Each month, I plan a pretty spooky dinner and movie to enjoy at home, which I host at my home tiki bar, the Sunken Compass. I work out all of the details beforehand and then share my low carb on the high seas recipe with you because they're to die for. This week's Feast and Fright brings us to the murky shores of the dark and dangerous Amazon River, where we will accompany an expedition of brave scientists to uncover the mysteries of the creature from the Black Lagoon. It'll be a long, hot journey, so we'll surely work up quite a hunger and thirst for Gilly's guacamole with lagoon shrimp, Paella Negra with tiny tentacles swimming in a black Saffron Sea, Black Cacao cake with Devonian icing, and the Rita of the Black Lagoon. The 1954 Universal Monsters classic has always been such a favorite of mine that the Sunken Compass has its own Gill-Man from the Devonian period overlooking festivities at all times. Tonight he'll be supervising the meal prep, and he has a sweet tooth, or fang, so we better get started on the black cacao cake with Devonian icing right away. Because all of the recipes are in the description, I'd rather gush over my love for the creature while I cook. Also, beyond being low carb on the high seas, my recipes are adjusted for our egg, onion, and garlic allergies. So feel free to make your cake with eggs or add onions and garlic to the other dishes as you see fit. But back to the creature. I think my first memories come from a Saturday afternoon show on a local TV channel called Creature Feature with a costumed host named Dr. Paul Bearer. This was where I caught my first glimpses of the Universal monsters and grew to love the campy horror of yore. But this Universal monster was different. For a change, these scientists weren't diabolical mad scientists, and there was a bit of sympathy expressed for this monster. While we now can all cringe at the manner in which the fossil was extracted from the dig site, I have to hand it to Universal for even mentioning evolution in 1954. Plus, I've always been seriously impressed by the costuming. Gilly's suit was a waterproof masterpiece, and who knew ichthyologists were so stylish? Rosemary Odell was the genius behind the effortless beauty of Julie Adams's character. The white bathing suit was a stunner, but I decided it was easier to try to emulate her red bandana halter top. However, those who were primarily responsible for the creation and application of the creature's costume were not included in the extremely succinct movie credits. A former Disney animator, Millicent Patrick, was excluded from the credits as the designer of the creature's suit, and Jack Cavan, the fabricator of the suit, had both the Wizard of Oz and prosthetics maker for amputees during World War II on his resume, but he was not credited for his immense contribution to the creature from the Black Lagoon. And this lack of proper accreditation seems to be a recurring theme, because there was no mention of Chris Mueller, who sculpted Gilly's beautiful face, complete with hand-pump air bladders to articulate the gills. Perhaps no studio had seen costuming talent of this caliber and didn't foresee the interest and admiration viewers like us would have for these creators who brought the creature to life. Because Gilly loves an appetizer that is as handsome as he is, I present Gilly's guacamole with lagoon shrimp. He says it's shrimply fantastic. Just like the movie, this dish is a simple yet delicious combination of the perfect ingredients. It's more about the theming and entertaining presentation rather than a complex plot, so there's no recipe required. While working on the movie Citizen Kane, producer William Alland heard a tall tale about a South American fishman of the Amazon. He combined this fishy myth with the plot of Beauty and the Beast and turned the idea over to 3 writers who called the story The Black Lagoon. Determined to shoot the film in 3D, Almond gave up the color film budget to allow for the costly 3D production, and to make sure it was a success, he hired Jack Arnold, who had just directed the 3D box office hit House of Wax. With the vivid, technical, and beautiful underwater cinematography of the brilliant William Snyder, a 3D showing must have been fun. The musical score by Mancini, Salter, and Stein had to make the same type of impact. It was simple and repetitive, but striking and memorable. Next, let's dive right into the main course, Paella Negra. It's full of tiny tentacles swimming in a black, inky sea and loaded with saffron. Paella that is low carb on the high seas is a gift from Poseidon himself, so be sure to grab this recipe from the description. Speaking of gifts from the sea gods, the creature from the Black Lagoon had boatloads of talent, and some of these actors, just like the costumers, were not credited. Originally, I had no idea that there were 2 main actors who played Gilly. The handsome and athletic Riku Browning was the graceful swimmer who glided in the underwater scenes in Wakulla Springs, Florida, where Spanish moss swaying from cypress trees now seemed glaringly out of place for the Amazon River. Ben Chapman was the tall, wide-shouldered Gill-Man who shot the land scenes where Gilligan's Island was filmed. Both young actors endured so much to become the creature. Browning, in a weighted suit to keep the buoyant foam from floating, held his breath for up to 4 minutes even during the underwater fight scenes. To move more like a sea monster out of water, Chapman wore 10-pound weights in his boots. The already heavy suit was also excruciatingly hot, and since it was designed for the water, Chapman would try to cool down in the lake or with a hose between takes. Both actors had limited visibility in the mask, and Chapman famously bumped Julie Adams' head against a fake rock while carrying her into the cave. Actor Ted White, who played Jason in Friday the 13th, the final chapter, would sub for Chapman in some scenes. Although I can now tell the difference in the mannerisms and movements of the 2 Gillies, the creative team disguised their size difference by adding an extra row of scales for Chapman and melding the vastly different film locations with cinematography and sound effects. This is where the budget-conscious decision to film in black and white was a blessing in disguise, a creature disguise. And to pay homage to our trusty vessel, we have the Rita from the Black Lagoon. It's smooth sailing with this sipper. With a boat named the Rita, I had to make a riff on a margarita and make it black. So I started with the easiest blackberry simple syrup that is also low carb on the high seas, because seedless sugar-free blackberry preserves means that there's no need to cook down berries with sweetener or strain out any seeds. Just make sure to reserve 2 tablespoons for rimming the glasses later, with sea salt, cilantro, red pepper flakes, and crushed black pepper. You'll need 1 jar seedless blackberry preserves, 1½ cups water, 1 tablespoon vanilla extract, and a few drops of black food coloring. Remember to prep the garnish first so your drink doesn't melt while garnishing too late. You'll need 1 ounce of lime juice, 1 ounce of blackberry syrup, 1 ounce of orange curacao, 2 ounces of mezcal. Fill your tin with ice. Shake until your hands become nice and frosty. Pour your margarita into your rocks glass. Top with more ice. Garnish with 3 blackberries and a lime wheel with a straw. So there you have it. Pretty Spooky presents Friday Night Feast and Fright featuring the creature from the Black Lagoon. If you try the recipes, let me know what you thought and how it went in the comments. I'd love to know how these recipes and methods compare to others you've tried, and if you prefer yours to be low carb on the high seas now too. And be sure to check back every first Friday for more Friday Night Feast and Fright. We're dying to have you for dinner. Gilly and I hope you enjoyed your Friday night feast and fright with us here at the Sunken Compass. I loved being your haunted hostess. You were a wonderful guest and you're welcome back always. Farewell until next time. Cheers.